Space for opportunity and sovereignty.
Much of your research has been on the turn of the 20th century town in southeastern New Mexico called Blackdom. There were frontier settlements all over the west, the southwest at that time. How was this one different?
It shows the intentions of black people. Generally, you had towns that were named after prominent people or people in the Bible or biblical stories. This was called Blackdom. When there was significant violence. However, Blackdom marketed itself as a refuge. So a refuge is for refugees. You're not really going to want to put a target on it. So to call it Blackdom, you could see that there was a larger idea behind this settlement. There was a larger understanding of culture and what was necessary at the time. The key to Blackdom is to understand that they were going beyond freedom and looking for sovereignty, and found it.
And sovereignty meant to them?
Sovereignty meant to them self-governance. If you look at municipal governments, generally speaking, if you can control the municipal government, you can control your life. Control your life.
So there was a group of 13 families who started the town. What were they like?
See, most of the time we talk about black people through the lens of from slavery to freedom. I write the postscript, which is sovereignty. So they went from slavery to freedom in half a generation. So you had people who were in the townsite company who were born under the institution of slavery, their family was born, and then the first child born out of slavery, namely Boyer, became the president of the Blackdom Townsite Company. And so when he created that, he brought his family, who were born under the institution of slavery, to this place that they called Blackdom for black sovereigns.
Boyer, you just mentioned him. Who's this guy?
I call him a superhero, even though I give him a hard time sometimes when I talk about them, because I try to stay away from the myths around him, particularly him walking from Georgia to New Mexico. He possibly have done it, but I say that it is possible that he had more means than that, because he was a black minister, trained at Morehouse, so he had friends, he had a connection. He was trained in the military because he was a Buffalo soldier, so he had friends, he had officers, he had all kinds of things. And then he was a black Freemason. So for him to have all of that capacity and institution behind him, for him to have to walk is a little bit difficult for me to, but I will let it stand, because it's a beautiful myth.
An achievement.
It's an achievement to walk 2,000 miles. So yeah. I'm just gonna, but he was to me a superhero because of his intellectual capacity. He was able to deal with southeastern New Mexico, which was a stronghold for the Confederacy for a while, and at the same time not just survive but thrive and build a town along with the other families, and just his intellectual capacity made him a superhero to me. All right, this is the cemetery. 13 founders of Blackdom, New Mexico. Okay, so this is really rural too. You can tell. Look at this barbed wire. Barbed wire. See that right there? Can you see that? Oh, see it right there? The Freemason. Freemason thing is on his tombstone there. just his intellectual capacity made him a superhero to me.
There are a lot of characters in this town. Ms. Moore.
Oh. First, she was a madam. She was a bootlegger, and she was also a gunslinger. I'll give you an example. So her fiance comes into her speakeasy, and he starts, jabbing at her, with words. So she pulls out her revolver and put 2 holes in his coat. Don't even touch him.
Whoa.
On trial for attempted murder in 1917. Guess what? She gets off. And this is the Wild West. This is a black woman in the Wild West. I'll give you an example. So her fiance comes into her speakeasy, and he starts, jabbing at her, with words. So she pulls out her revolver and put 2 holes in his coat. Don't even touch him.
Whoa.
On trial for attempted murder in 1917. Guess what? She gets off. And this is the Wild West. This is a black woman in the Wild West.
You talk sometimes about Blackdom Renaissance. What does that mean?
A lot of times we talk about the 20s and we talk about the Harlem Renaissance. But what we rarely, if ever, understand is that it's a part of a larger movement. And how you see the Harlem Renaissance over there, and we glorify that, realize that in New Mexico, black people were in the middle of a renaissance, going from porters and maids to oil barons.
Yes, we can stop. Whole township is possible, people. We can name the town, we can name the streets, we can have our own schools, we can have our own post office. We have these skills. That's the knapsack of experiences that we brought from a period of slavery. Let's do it. That was the leadership. To say, yes, we can establish.
Begun in the early 1900s, this pioneer town was different than most built in the West. It was heralded as the first exclusive Negro settlement in the Mexico territory. It was a place where blacks could truly be free. A planned colony where they could determine their own destiny, not be attacked.
Were in the middle of a renaissance, going from porters and maids to oil barons.
Now tell me, who was the oil baron?
That madam I talked about, she had one of the largest stake in the Blackdom Oil Company.
That's incredible. Now, how did that happen?
They changed the law so that you can get larger portions of homestead land. And so she ended up with a whole square mile. And very few people in Blackdom could prove up a homestead of that size, but she could because she was a madam, a bootlegger, and she had all of her capital. So that land that she has becomes a part of the pool of land that creates that helps to create the Blackdom Oil Company. That is then the land is leased to exploration companies in New York and in California.
So there was a boom.
Oh yeah.
Was there a bust?
1929, the bust for everybody was a bust for Blackdom as well. However, it wasn't a bust for Mittie, because remember, she had a diverse portfolio. When people got sad, I mean, she kind of made more money.
So 100 years later, what is the legacy of Blackdom now?
Compton, Harlem, any inner city, you're going to see Blackdom. In fact, if you go back to my hometown, Compton, California, you'll find Boyers teaching or working in the Compton Unified School District. I have found, in fact, there's a young rapper in Long Beach, Rob Cheerio. He's a direct descendant of Boyer, and he's in Long Beach. So Compton and Long Beach together, now you know you're in trouble. That's
So you're talking about communities of black people who are empowered and creating, but there's nothing there. There's nothing to see anymore.
And that's what people's problem is. And when you get past the fact that there is, quote, nothing there, you realize that they weren't trying to have anything there. It was a pass-through. If you look at it, black people used the town site company as a way to circulate capital. Well, they had to make capital, and generally the town didn't make money, but maybe their homestead would. If their homestead was drought-ridden that year, they would then go into Roswell or go into the trains that were just now coming into southeastern New Mexico, make their money, bring it back to Blackdom, and then circulate it a few times. That's how they built generational wealth. America, the idea, New Mexico. I'm not talking about just what we call New Mexico now. I mean New Mexico that goes all, the borderlands. And Africa collided in Blackdom. Because the ideas of Africa came through notions of Ethiopianism, black liberation theology, so on and so on. Those ideas gave black people the strength to build a town called Blackdom. They called it Blackdom at the turn of the 20th century. And then, not to shy away from the violence that was happening all around, what we call the United States, not to shy away from it, they struck oil, and then 3 months later, after what we call the Red Summer in 1919, they called their oil company Blackdom Oil Company. So they had all intention, all reality, and they had no fear.
It's bold. It's a combination, I presume, of black and kingdom.
Sovereign.
Yeah.
Frontier sovereignty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I went looking for freedom. I found it in Blackdom. It's not a place. It's more an idea.
This is what it is, okay?